Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Max Story.
Hello, and thanks for stopping by the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast today as we continue this 30-part series on my book, Blue Collar Leadership and Teamwork, 30 Traits of High Impact Players. So today we're on trait 14, which is be teachable. Every one of these traits, you need to be humble and be teachable in order to get something out of them and to continue your growth journey. Alan Weiss had this to say. He says, the most fundamental success factor is one's mindset. That's pretty good stuff. The most fundamental success factor is one's mindset. How you see the world. How do you see yourself? How do you see others? All that is based on your mindset. You can either have a fixed mindset, meaning you pretty much set in your ways and you know how the world is, or you can have a growth mindset, forever expanding your view of yourself and others and the world and everything that makes up this world we live in. If you listen to this podcast by choice, I assume you got a growth mindset. You're in the right spot. So let's dive into today's content about being teachable. The key to effective and endless growth, and what I'm about to share with you is the subtitle for this trait, is this: embrace a beginner's mindset. And I'm going to share with you later. I'm going to open, I grabbed one of the books off my bookshelf over here called Rookie Smarts by Liz Wiseman. I read this book. Inside the cover of books, I always write when I read it. So I read this book back in February 4th, 2016. I usually write the date when I start reading it. So sometime shortly after that, I finished it. February 4th, 2016. Been quite a few years ago. But this was a really good book. The title again, Rookie Smarts. Subtitle, Why Learning Beats Knowing in the New Game of Work. I ain't diving into that yet. I just want to let you know it's coming. I'm going to share some. I'm going to open it up. And I haven't even opened it up. I wanted to do it blindly. I've got lots of highlights in that book, lots of pages folded. And I'm going to just open it up, turn some pages, look at what I underlined, highlighted back, 7 years ago, and talk to it a little bit, talk about it a little bit with you. But I got some other stuff to talk with you first. We'll save that for the tail end. So, right now I want to talk to you about something I got from Napoleon Hill. If you've never read any of Napoleon Hill's books, I highly recommend you dive into those. His most popular book is Think and Grow Rich. Not really talking about being rich, but it's a catchy title. Everybody wants to be rich, at least nearly about everybody. Some people don't care, but it's really about character development. And it's from, I think that book was written in the 1930s, but he wrote stuff earlier than that. He did a lot of research in the early 1900s. Anyway, I forget which book I took this away from. He's got quite a few. And one of them, The Laws of Success, that thing is huge. It's like 2 or 3 inches thick, and it's a big book, but it's a good size. This could have come from that. I don't know. Anyway, it's going to take me a second. It's a pretty good sized paragraph I want to share with you. Remember, we're talking about the trait of high impact players, the trait of be teachable. Embrace a beginner's mindset. All right, here's the words of Napoleon Hill. It's going to be a minute. I'll let you know when I'm done with his words and I'm back on my own stuff. So Napoleon Hill shared these interesting thoughts in the early 1900s, and they still apply 100 years later. This is what he said. He says, the average person who wanted to get an education would probably think first of some college or university, with the false belief that these institutions could educate their students. But nothing in the world would be farther from the truth. The fact of the matter is that all any school on earth can do, except for one, is to prepare a foundation for acquiring an education. And that one exception is the school of life. Through the instruction books of human experience. Don't forget this. Don't believe for a moment that you can buy an education with money. You can't do it. An education is something you have to work for. Furthermore, it cannot be acquired in the usual 4 years given over to college training. If we are good students, we are going to school always. We never get through. Life is one continuous school. And the kind of students we are depends upon the kind of work we do as we go through this great university. So that wraps up the words from Napoleon Hill. Nothing's changed in these 100 years. College ain't going to get it, ain't going to cut it for you. You ain't even got to go to college. You can go if you want to, but you don't have to. Depends on what you want to do. You need to do some homework before you get to school, figure out what is it you really want to do in life, and then look at some people who are doing that in life. Look at some who are doing it the best or the most effective way or the way that you want to do it. See, do some research on them. See if what made them successful was college or something else. You'll figure it out, but you gotta go do the work. Do some homework before you figure out how to do it. You know, those words by Napoleon Hill, it reminds me of a quote I share often from Mark Twain. He says, I shared it during this series back in the beginning earlier, I believe, because it relates to one of the chapters back there. But he basically says he never let his schooling interfere with his education. And tying that to Napoleon Hill's words, in my own way, that's what he's talking about. Schooling, whether it's high school, college, technical school, that's your schooling, but that's not your real education. That's the foundation, as Napoleon Hill said. That schooling, I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but schooling is the foundation upon which you will build your education. Or you won't. Some people just go to school and they graduate, they get a job, and that's about it. A little bit of OJT on the job training, and they're done being teachable, growing. They're just ready to coast on out through life. Wait to die. A lot of people out there, they're just waiting to die. All right. So being teachable means more than being willing to learn. To be teachable means you are willing to listen, to learn, and to seek knowledge from multiple sources. That's one reason, if you read my book, I have lots of quotes from a lot of different people. There's a couple of reasons for that. One thing it does for you is it validates what I'm teaching you at this moment. I learn from multiple sources. If you look at my bookshelf or you get in my phone and look at all the electronic books that I've read, or if you could access all the podcasts or videos that I've watched, you would see I learn from multiple sources. I mine gold. We're going to talk about that later. That's a different trait down the line. I'll dig into that one later. I'm looking for gold. I'm looking for golden nuggets of wisdom from all sources. I may or may not like the person. I may or may not like their character. I may or may not like how they got to be where they are in life. But if they give me a golden nugget, I'm going to stick it in my pocket. You should adopt that same philosophy. But anyway, I got to stop that or I'll be teaching you a different trait that's later on in the chapter. Main thing is learn from multiple sources. That's one reason I give you a lot of different quotes in my book. Actually, when you read my content, you may think you're learning from me alone, but it may have my name on the cover, but you're learning from multiple sources. Because you're going to see I quote multiple sources in there. And the things that I share that I've learned have come from many, many, many sources. So when you read my content, it's an easy way to learn from multiple sources at the same time. You leveraging your time. You ain't just learning from Mac's story. You're learning from a whole lot of people. Just like my podcast, I share lots of quotes with you. Just like I said, here in a little bit, I'm going to share some quotes and thoughts from Rookie Smarts from Liz Wiseman. I learned a lot from her when I read that book. I've never met her. I may not ever meet her. But I mentored myself and educated myself through her books. It's why I think books are powerful. Podcasts are great too, but for me, the best way to learn is to turn some pages because I can slow down, digest it. I ain't driving around. I ain't cutting my lawn. I ain't doing other stuff. When I'm reading a book, a hardcover book, I'm reading the book. Go try to read a real book and do other things. You can't do it. That's why I value it takes discipline to read a real book because other people listen to podcasts like this, which is fine. I've listened to thousands and thousands of hours of audio. I'm not saying stop listening to audio. I'm saying if you really, really want to focus and learn, start turning some pages too. Do both when you can. Some people, they don't have a lot of time to turn pages, but they got a lot of time to listen to podcasts. You can learn a lot listening to podcasts. Key is when you start thinking about something or you get busy, hit the pause button on the podcast so you don't miss the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I remember when I used to listen to so much audio when I was driving a lot, I had to develop that habit. As soon as my mind would start thinking about something I just heard, I had to hit the pause button. But it took me a little while to figure out to do it quickly before I've lost 5 or 10 minutes and don't even know what was said. All right. High impact players listen to teammates with the intention of learning from them regardless of their position, title, rank, or job description. So I'm going to ask you that question I ask you pretty much every episode. If you could pick 2 people to be on your team, all you know about them, one of them is teachable. The other one thinks they know it all. Which one do you want to work with every day? The person that's teachable or the one that thinks they know it all and they're not teachable? They don't want to hear nothing you say, none of your opinions, because they already know. You've heard me say before, there's some people, if they don't know, you can't tell them. That's the kind of person I'm talking about. A person like that. It's obvious which person you'd pick. The teachable person. Like I always say, which one are you? That's what really matters. You need to be worrying about which one are you. Not which one you think you are, not which one you say you are. Which one are you? Which person do the other people that work with you, your boss, your teammates, people who report to you, people at home in your personal life, what would they say if I could ask them? That's what matters. Not what you think you are, what you really are. But the key to being teachable, and this is something I'm real good at, is to be curious. It's why I've always liked change. I like continuous improvement. Why I was effective in lean manufacturing. It's why I grow every day. I'm curious. I ask lots of questions. One thing, though, I do relative to being curious and influence, and most of the time, people don't have a clue that I'm doing this. And I do it in public. I do it personally. I do it professionally. I do it where there are other people. And I can do it without anybody knowing I'm doing it. I watch people. I pay attention. I'm very, very alert to what people are doing, saying, what the other people are, their body language, what they say in return, how they respond or don't respond. because I'm a lifetime student of influence, and I'm passionate about it. For some reason, it's my thing to do on this earth. So I'm just observing a lot, but I'm curious. I'm curious about human interaction. When people are mad, sad, frustrated, every emotion you can imagine, it's like I'm digesting it. It's like I got a little supercomputer in there, just paying attention and putting this stuff, recording it, and putting it with other information I've already got. And what I'm really doing, the result, what value is that, you might ask? Is it helps me. The two hardest things to learn about leadership and influencing people is timing and intuition. So when I'm doing that, I'm developing timing and intuition. It's a lifetime of doing it. I don't just hang around people. When I'm around people, I'm paying attention. I'm watching, I'm looking, I'm listening. Most people think I'm just hanging around because I look just like everybody else. But my mind, what's going on in my mind, I'm paying attention. There's so many people in my life, they think they're getting over on me, whether it's at work or when I worked, when I had a job. But it doesn't matter. It's people in general. All the time, people think they're getting over on me. They're not getting over on me. I'm allowing it to happen. If they think they're getting over on me and they think they were successful, I allowed it to happen. They're not getting over on me. I'm aware of what's going on. People try to fool me all the time. They think they do because I don't say nothing. Or I don't do what they think I would do if I actually knew, because I don't want them to know that I know. And if I said I know, then they would change their plan and they'd say that wasn't true. You know how it gets. It kind of gets tangled up. But I'm just kind of incognito. I'm just kind of floating around, kind of like special ops, covert operations, doing my own thing out there in this world we live in. And I love it. But it helps me with intuition and understanding of people. All right. But be curious about what your teammates know and their viewpoint. Each teammate knows something other teammates don't know, including you. Regardless of your title or position, everybody on your team knows something that you don't know. And you can learn from them. And if you're a leader, you can release them and let them lead the way when it comes to that content about what they know. I ain't talking about what somebody thinks they know. That ain't valuable to anybody, including a person who thinks they know something, but they don't really know. I'm talking about what people actually know. And this is something I learned really big time when I was leading lean manufacturing. I learned it pretty serious. And I got a book, Blue Collar Kaizen, Leading Lean and Lean Teams. If that, what I'm about to talk about relative to this interests you, that's a book you need to dive into. But those closest to a problem most often know the most about the problem, and at a minimum can contribute valuable information to help solve the problem. So many leaders, too much pride and ego, micromanagement, regular management of people instead of leadership of people, they miss that whole principle I just told you about. Those closest to the problem most often know the most about the problem, and at a minimum can contribute valuable information to help solve the problem. Here's the key: if they want to. If they don't like you, they probably don't want to, and they're not going to help you solve the problem. It doesn't matter if they report to you or if they're just a teammate and they're a peer at your level, or it could be the boss. 360 degrees, remember? Low impact players rest on what was learned in the past. They still running around bragging about what they did 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago. They can't even tell you about any growth they had last week or yesterday because they ain't growing. They still resting and bragging about that degree or them 10 degrees they got 20, 30 years ago. You know why? That's all they got. High impact players believe they need a 50-year education. In other words, they don't need a 4-year degree, they need a 50-year degree. They need endless learning throughout their lives to be successful and valuable. See the difference between low impact players and high impact players? It's a big difference. So I want to share with you a quote here before I dive into Rookie Smart, start turning some pages. And I don't know what I'm going to get out of that book. Hopefully I can turn them fast enough without too much pausing in between the pages, trying to figure out what I'm going to read to you. But before I get to that, Sir Ian Templeton had this to say. Good stuff. He said, if we become increasingly humble about how little we know, we may be more eager to search. If we become increasingly humble about how little we know, we may be more eager to search or to learn, in my words, or to grow, in my words. But if you think you know it all, you ain't doing much searching. Why would you? All right. So I'm going to just open up this book here, Rookie Smarts again, by Liz Wiseman. Subtitle, Why Learning Beats Knowing in the New Game of Work. But what I like about the book is the title, Rookie Smarts. I don't care too much about the subtitle, Rookie Smarts. Remember what I said, the subtitle of this trait, Be Teachable, is Embrace a Beginner's Mindset. So I'm going to just open up the book. I just want to see what the first thing I underlined in this book was on page 6. So it didn't take me long to start getting some nuggets out of this book. Let's see what it was, because I haven't looked at it. I like to do it authentically, right here on the fly. So it says, while experience provides a distinct advantage in a stable field, like the realms of bridge building, ballet, or concert piano performance, it can actually impede progress in an unstable or rapidly evolving arena. That's the opening line. But what I'm about to share is what I really underline here. The other was kind of underlined, right? I put more emphasis on what I'm about to share with you. But that was the lead in this paragraph. So here's what I really underline here. It says, when the world is changing quickly, experience can become a curse, trapping us in old ways of doing and knowing, while inexperience can be a blessing, freeing us to improvise and adapt quickly to changing circumstances. You know what? That was good stuff seven or so years ago. It's good stuff today. That's the thing about the good stuff. It doesn't get old. The good stuff, it doesn't get old. And you can hear it many times, and you don't get tired of hearing it because it's good. So that was some good stuff. I'm going to keep on turning pages here. Another thing I underlined. When there's too much to know, having the right question may be more important than having a ready answer. How powerful is that nugget right there? When there's too much to know, having the right question may be more important than having a ready answer. And when you build a high impact team, you got a high performance team filled with high impact individuals, players, and leaders. You want to be a high impact leader, you need to have some questions ready to go. You don't have to know everything. Just have the right questions so those people who do know understand what you need to know and they can give it to you. Leadership's powerful. Here's another thing, and I'm still on page 7. The implication for professional excellence is clear. When work spins faster, learning cycles must spin faster too. That's good stuff. I can relate that to definitely relate that to cultural transformation. When cultural transformation starts, things start happening quickly. People have to grow quickly. Here's a quote I underlined in here. It's actually a quote she referenced from Stephen Hawking. And Stephen said this, the greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance. It is the illusion of knowledge. I can take that back and share, about when I was talking about the people that I mentor. That's what happens to most of them. They start growing, and then they think that they learn so much, because they do learn a lot. And I'm talking, again, I'm not trying to say I'm somebody special, but I've been reading, learning, and applying this highly intentionally for 15 years. I get people who ain't ever done this stuff hardly at all, who start learning a little bit, start telling me what I don't know. They don't say that literally, but that's what they say. When they start questioning how I see things, or some of my advice, or something I'm sharing with them, they don't know what they don't know, but they think they do know. Stephen Hawking said, the greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, it is the illusion of knowledge. And I shout out to Mr. Jason Denham. He's been going and growing. He's the VP of electrical construction at Kilgore Industries. 10 years I've been mentoring him. He takes feedback. That's why I'm still mentoring him. He does something with it. It's phenomenal. Most people, I don't mentor most people but for a year or two before they fall off. A lot of them fall off because of that quote I just shared with you. They start thinking they know more than I know. What's funny, though, is they quit listening, or they don't want to change. They hit the limit, but they go back where they come from. So here's another quote. I'm on page 12 now. This book, by the way, has got about 270 pages or so. So I ain't sharing very much with you, but I'm just turning a few pages, like I mentioned. One day I may go back and do more. I got a lot of books, other people's books. I thought about doing some series where I just, not a series, but actually I guess it would be if I did a lot of it, but just go and turn pages and talk about some quotes, share my own thoughts and my own stories. I know you guys would like that. I'm trying to right now, though, I like to share random things a lot. I'm trying to get these series out on my own books so people can dive deeper into those. But here's another quote from page 12 from Liz Wiseman in Rookie Smarts. She says, the vast majority of us now work in environments where the ability to learn is more critical than what we know, and where the most valuable currency is influence, not power. Man, how strong is that? As I read through these, and I ain't opened this book probably in 7 years, but like I told you guys, I capture quotes. All these quotes are captured in my quote file. That's why I don't have to go back to the book. I got them in my quote file. Some of these I see already. I've used them in some of my books. I've shared them on the podcast before. I've shared them as memes on my social media. I don't just mine the gold. When I find some gold, I share it with you. See, the good thing about this kind of gold, I can put it in my pocket, and I can give it to you, and you can put it in your pocket. And now all of a sudden there's 2 pieces of gold. You got one and I got one. I don't have to lose any of my gold to give you all of my gold. Isn't that interesting? That's good stuff, as I would say. Page 21, here's another one from Liz Wiseman. The ability to mobilize the skills and competencies of the people around us has a bigger impact on our performance than does the amount of experience we have. She's talking about leadership, the ability to mobilize the skills and competencies of those around us. That's going to determine your performance. How effective can you be in life? It's leadership. It's all the stuff I'm always talking about. How to help you increase your influence in every situation with everybody. So I hope you enjoyed that. I didn't get through many of the quotes during that 10-minute session. And I could have just probably read one quote and talked about it for 10 minutes, but I tried to give you a few, give you a little insight into that book. But what I want you to do is be teachable. Embrace a beginner's mindset. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Keep climbing. Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mac Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mac's books, programs, special offers, certifications, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.